Good afternoon, Flosstube. It's Caroline from Caroline's Corner here in Leeds in West Yorkshire in the UK. I'm here this afternoon with my Flosstube number 48. It's the 25th of January and I'm well aware I haven't done a sit down Flosstube since October half term, I think. Because the Christmas holidays were just a tiny bit nuts. We have family visiting from over in New Zealand, which meant that it wasn't quite the chill out holiday that it usually is. And the room I film in, it's an office, but it's also our guest room. So obviously I couldn't do a sit down video up here. So I did try and do a few little Flossmas videos. I hope you enjoyed them. And I'm back this month to do a sit down video because February half term is going to be busy as well. So I thought can't promise anything, but I'm going to try and do monthly videos this year. We will see how it goes. So yeah, so I have, even though I covered a fair bit of stuff in my Flossmas videos. I've still got quite a pile here because there was some stuff I didn't touch on. So I've got my coffee in my cycling podcast mug from Stacy Snyder. So I did think this might be quite a short video. I'm not so sure now. I've got everything out. So we'll see how we go. Show notes for this episode will be down in the description box below. I do have a blog which I occasionally update, and something else I'm hoping to get better at doing again this year. That's carolinescorner.blogspot.com, and I can be mostly found on Instagram as @Caroline A Kemp, and Caroline is spelled with a K. So let's get going with started on everything I have to show you. First thing, I have a fully finish. This is number 8, I think, of my 60 finishes before I get to my 60th birthday. This is the drawn thread, the Spot of Winter. I stitched this back in 2014. A couple of years ago, I managed to finish all the other seasonal spots and never quite got around to doing winter. So it was one of the ones that was very high up the list to get finished. So I have the full set finished now. Simple flat ornament finish. They've all got this neutral homespun on the back, and they're all finished with pom-pom trims, various different pom-pom trims. This white pom-pom came from TK Maxx, who did have some trims in stock at one point. Stitched using all the call for probably DMCs. There might be an overdye or two in there, on some 36 count linen. I can't remember what the linen was now. It's a very pale blue. So I'm very pleased to have that done. Off the finishing pile of doom and into my seasonal displays. So yeah, I'm very happy to still be keeping up with my finishing challenge to myself. So I'm almost halfway through my yearly allocation of 20. So fingers crossed, we shall get there. So I've no finishes to show you this time. I have done a finish, but it's for an exchange for. I'm off to the Floss Friends retreat in Rotherham next weekend, and so I've done a piece for that exchange. So I can't show you that. I'll show you that later in my next video. So we'll dive straight into WIPs. I have a focus piece that I'm working on every month, which if you've been around here for any length of time, you will know all about. My focus piece is a very old class piece by Lauren Sauer of Forget Me Nots in Stitches. Lauren did beautiful designs, but they were very rarely for sale on the open market. She generally only offered them as classes. And there was a period of time when she would come over to the UK to teach. Susan Albury, who at that time ran a shop called Hanging by a Thread, it's an online shop that was based in London. She used to arrange for a few people to come over and teach every year. Sadly, Susan passed away a few years ago. And this is the last class I did with Susan and Lauren. This was in 2013. This is called Mistress L's Sampler, and it's a very long band sampler. So this is sort of the whole piece. Probably that's the top, and that's the bottom half. And here is where I've got to. I picked this up April last year. And when I picked it up, I was up here. I just finished this multicoloured alphabet. So everything you see, I have stitched since April last year. I did do a Flossmas that did a close-up on a lot of where I was up to, and I think I had just about finished this band with the three ladies, or as I was calling them, the Schuyler sisters, because they reminded me of Hamilton. So in January, I was working on this motif, not work motif here. I had started it in December. And so it was just, there's a lot of stitching in this one. So it was really just a case of trying to get as many stitches in as I can. I am hoping in February I will get it finished, because I just have to finish some of the fill-in in that leaf over there, and then put the flower, and there's a couple of flower tendrils, flowers to go in, and then it will be done, and then hopefully I will be on to this next band here, which I won't be able to fully complete because it talks about when I finish it, so I shall leave that bit for the end, but I can certainly get that one to hopefully be onto this bit before in February. So I should be on track to finish this one before I go to my friends retreat in June, because it is our 20th year of meeting, and we've all set ourselves a challenge piece that we're going to get finished by the retreat. So I am stitching this one. She's a long lass, is Mistress L. Can I get it all in? Only just. I'm stitching on 40 count antique white linen, and I am using a mix of, this is really sampler threads. So there's a palette there, the main green is forest green, and I'm also using some of Soir. I mean, I'm getting down to, because I'm getting to the end, these are looking a bit raggy because I've used most of the threads, obviously. So that is Mistress L. And like I say, she gets worked on every month now. Another piece that's going to see some dedicated love for the first half of the year at any rate is the Bees and Birds Sewing Roll and Biscornu by Stacy Nash. This was what was selected to be the stitch along in the Across the Pond Facebook group, and because I already had this as a WIP and I didn't have a lot done on it, I thought I would join in the sale and get it finished. I bought this when it was an exclusive through the Homespun Needlework Facebook group. It's been on general release for at least a couple of years. So, you know, it's well overdue getting finished. So here is my progress on Birds and Bees. I haven't done a lot this time round because I actually had most of it already stitched from the last time I worked on it. It didn't come out at all last year, so it would have been in 2024 I last worked on it. I just had some of the leaves to add in around the border, but there will be more progress going forward. But yeah, it's very nice to work on that one. It's nice to do like Stacy's stuff, and I just don't work on very much of it, mostly on account of I have a huge pile of other stuff that I like as just as much. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting that one done this year. It's being stitched on 36 count beige linen from Weeks, which is what I had bought it as a kit through Homespun Needlework, along with the Call for Weeks Dye Works. So came as a complete kit from Stacy at the time I bought it. So yeah, so that will come out after I've done my section on Mistress L. Next up for January was my spin the wheel piece. For those that are new here, I've got my focus piece is always my oldest piece, oldest large piece. The next 6 oldest large pieces I've put on a decision wheel, and every 2 months I spin the wheel and I do 20 hours on that project. So the project for December and January was Teresa Wentzler's The Guardian. Okay. Which I bought the kit, sorry for the glare, many, many years ago, and it's had it in my stash for ages. Then I started it in 2020. However, I started with the linen the wrong way round, so I had to junk that start and start over again. And I worked on it a lot in 2024 with the Year of the Dragon sale, as it was the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and so I worked on it monthly. And then I've not really worked on it much until I picked it up in December. So in January and December, I mostly did this long diagonal down here. So I had a little bit of the wing started, and then I took the sky over. I did a more border on both sides. I'm almost down to the bottom actually down here. Did a load of the wing. Confetti stitching all the way because it's a Teresa Wentzler. And then this in January just got a chunk of the tail of the dragon in and a little bit more background. really, really chuffed with how that's coming together. I'm stitching on a, not sure if it's 28 count or 32 count. I just found some cream and sort of creamish linen. Oh, it might be antique white linen in my stash when I needed to restart it. And it's all the DMC. This being a Teresa Wentzler and this being from the 90s, it's all blends, it's all quarter stitches, it's all confetti stitching, just to make life fun. But not doing it all the time. I do quite enjoy it, and that border's looking amazing when I can step. Nice thing about doing this is I can step back and actually look, and you can actually see the detail a lot better than you can when you're up close, obviously trying to get the stitching in. So yeah, really pleased with my progress on that one. We'll see when it comes up again, see what the wheel decides. Having 6 projects, it'd be quite nice if it's every 2 months for a year, but I'm not bothered if we get duplication because it just means a little more progress. Whole aim of this is just putting, so many of them are just starts, and I want to get them all just that little bit further along before they become focus pieces, so I'm not spending 2 years with just working on one focus piece, which could easily happen with some of them, as you'll see in a few minutes. And then we're on to my WIPGO calls. The WIPGO numbers were, was it 2 and 7? So first one I worked on was number 7, which is Girls' Night Out by Kathy Barrick in her Carriage House sampling days. Now this was a little kit released by Krynic. They did this series called Remember the Ladies. Now I did another piece in this series that was designed by Mary Gary's Sewing Cabin and finished stitching a couple of years ago, finished it last year. The milk paint thread keep. These little kits are put together to promote Krynic's Silk Mori milk paints threads. So you get the chart and half skeins of the threads in it. And here is where I've got to. The fabric was gifted to me at the same time. The kit was gifted to me, and the person who gave it to me also gifted me some fabric for it, and it's 36 count Dawn's Early Light by R&R Linen. I've had this in my stash an awfully long time. It's an interesting one to work on because it's all tent stitch over 1. So in my rotation, my 10 hours for this one, when I picked it up, I'd got the borders all finished. So I was working on the ladies and the big flowers in the middle. So I've got 2 of my ladies done. And I've got the flowers stemming for the last of the flowers. So should finish the design as it stands next time I work on this. Not sure when that'll be, but I'm umming and ahhing about finishing it as a mattress pincushion. And then the question is, do I pick out any of the design motifs and do them on any of the other bits? I might have a look and just see how much thread I've got left, because I won't be able to get any more of the silk moire, or I don't want to buy any more of the silk moire at the moment. So I'm certainly going to have, I've got another skein of one of the colours, so I can certainly use that for the outlining and outlining all the bits. It's whether I put in any of the motifs from the borders on the side or the bottom. But yeah, I'm thinking, because I've got quite a lot of linen, this is it folded in half, so I've definitely got enough linen to finish it as a mattress pincushion, which I think would be the way to go, and I think would look quite good. So that was first of my WIPGO pieces, and I finished my rotation slot last night. So, oh, these are the Silk Moire colours. It's a very nice, very subtle thread palette. Silk Moire is an interesting one to work with. It's got a bit of the bite of, it's not as crunchy as thread gatherers, but it's not as soft as a Verissoir. So yeah. So my last WIPGO piece, which for number 2, is another class sampler by Lauren of Forget-Me-Nots and Stitches, and it's called CMB 1759, Sleeping Beauty Awakened. So Lauren got invited to chart a sampler from a collection that was owned at that time by a friend of hers, and she picked out this beautiful sampler that was all white work, and it was all done in French knots. And she charted it. She did it in a couple of different ways. She charted it as one long thin one, but the original was 2 halves of a design. So when you took the class, you had an option on doing a long thin white work one, the 2 with the 2 halves on top of each other, the sampler as it stood in white work with the knots, or she did a colour version, which you could either do as a long thin one or the 2 halves. I'm doing mine as the 2 halves. So I don't have a picture of the full sampler. I've just got, so that's one of my top halves. That is top half of the sampler. So I'm doing the colour version. And that is the bottom half. This got a couple of, this came out a few times last year and got a couple, I think it got almost 30 hours in on it across the year. And it got taken from being just under a third done up here to almost half. This is the halfway point. This is the bottom of the first two pages I showed you. So this rotation slot, I'm hoping to get it just past the halfway point. So I'm working on this row down here, just putting in the flowers, and then I'll move over and do the section on this side, bring this central line further down, and then start on the second half of the sampler. it's all various different border patterns, and it's absolutely lovely. I took this class, I think this was 2016, at Fobbles in the Lake District. I would very much like to get this one. I'm hoping I might get this one finished this year, but we'll have to see. Certainly get it into the focus piece slot by the end of the year. There is another whip in between Mistress L and this one, so we shall see how we go. But certainly this will be my focus piece by the end of the year, and if I don't get it finished this year, it will be finished fairly early on, I suspect, next year, having got a good chunk of it done last year. As I say, it's going to get another 10 hours this month, and then we'll see if it comes up again in the spin the wheel slot going forward. So yeah, so I've just put in one stitching session on this so far. So the reason I do a 10-hour rotation is that's about the amount of stitching I get in a week. So by the end of the week, I'm bearing in mind I'm going to retreat, so there'll be a bit extra stitching time. It should have a good chunk of it done. And now we're on to my plans for February. So obviously I'm going to work on Mistress L. I'm going to work on Beads and Birds. And then I have a new Spin the Wheel project for February and March. And that the project that came up was Bathya. I took the class with Nicola at Fobbles in 2018. So I didn't start the sampler. I was working on the doodle cloth that Nicola gave us, and then carried on working on that, and then a couple of years ago I thought, no, sod it, I'll start. It's supposed to be reversible, and I was trying to get my doodle cloth reversible, but I was doing more frogging than I was going backwards more than I was going forwards. So in the interest of getting the sampler finished, I decided I wasn't going to make it reversible. I wasn't going to not try and keep the back looking something like, but I'm not going to sweat making it. This is supposed to be fun after all. Because if I sweated making it reversible, it would just never get done, and I like it too much to not get it done. So I started the sampler a few years ago, a couple of years back, but it's not gotten worked on, didn't get worked on at all last year. So this is all I have done on it, which is a little bit of the white work at the top. So with 20 hours to work on it over the next couple of months, I fully expect that I will get the white work finished and be on to another one of these not work bands that I've been bogged down with on the Mistress L, but hey, it'll be fun. So yeah, so I think this is a 36 count, or it might be a 40 count. I need to get a ruler out and measure, like mocha linen. I'm using the Call for Averrois silks. They were part of the kits that we got in the class. I have, in a homage to Laura of Brenda and the Serial Starter, got Baby Yoda as my floss jewellery. As my daughter bought it back from my son from Disneyland Paris, but he wasn't that bothered, so I took it instead. So, got quite a bit to go. This is another long one, but I'm really looking forward to working on Bathya again and seeing how far I can get in my time with it as a. This is what you see what I mean about. I've got things that had just started. I just want to get that a bit further on, so it's not just a small start by the time it becomes a focus piece, because this is going to take a while. I think this is what the front looks like. And yeah, this is going to take, if I if I start it up when it's up here, it's going to take well over a year to get done. So I want to get it a little further on. And then we're on to that's, incidentally, Bathya is also one of my WIPGO calls. So I shall be double dipping. So I will get at least 10 hours in on Bathya, hopefully more, but given February's a short month, it might not happen. I'm not going to sweat it if I don't get 20 hours in on her, because so it's a short month and there's other things I need to stitch. I am not only going to the Floss Friends retreat, I'm also going to the Sampler Guild colour retreat, so in Gloucester. So that's February half term. This is why I think February half term is going to be too busy to record. So I may get 20 hours in, I doubt it, but so it may be double dipping for that one. The other WIPGO call I had was this chart by Sheepish Designs. Again, another old one. The copyright date on this is 1988. It's called Remember Me, and it's just a little marking sampler that I started in 2022. Having had the chart in my stash for quite a while. I think I got it from Traditional Stitches when I was part of their stash enhancement club that they ran. So yeah, this is my progress. So another 10 hours on this one should see it well past the halfway point and getting closer to a finish. Being stitched using the Call4 DMC, which as you can see are quite nice muted colours, using some lamb's wool linen. I'm not sure of the count that Janice sent us with the chart. So I really like this one, so it's going to be nice to work on it and get it a bit further on than it is at the minute. This is about the halfway point I'm at over here, so see how much further I can get it when I work on it this month. So there you have all my plans for my stitching in February. Might be a challenge to get some of it in because, as I said, February's a short month, but we'll see. Let's say I've got 2 retreats, which is going to give me some extra stitching time that I don't normally have in a month. So we'll see how we go. I don't really have any stash to show you. I haven't bought anything in January because I'm going to 2 retreats, and certainly the Floss Friends retreat, I know there will be some little boutique. So I've been saving my pennies. But one thing I will show you is my one stitchy Christmas present that I got off my daughter, who bought me this rather cute ceramic needle minder. It comes from Beyond Measure in Todmorden, who, if you've never visited their website, you really should, because they stock Kohana, they stock Saju, and they stock a lot of absolutely lovely needful things. I've never been to the shop. I'm told it's gorgeous. I can do enough damage on just the website and when I see them at shows. So yeah, it's a cute little reminder. I did buy some stuff at the Jingle Ball. I did go to the Jingle Ball, but I only went in the shop, really. It was a very busy weekend that weekend, and so I ummed and ahed about buying a ticket, then decided that there would be stuff I actually wanted to buy. So I did. None of it I've printed out yet because we'd only just got some new ink in the printer. I got the Annie B's House one. That's screamed my name. And the two Stacy Nash needle rolls. So obviously I've got the gingerbread house. So I bought the two house building needle rolls from her as well. And a few ornaments from different people. Didn't take any classes this year because none of them were really speaking to me. While I find Stacy Nash's animal crackers, they're very cute to look at, I have no desire to stitch one of them. So I don't need to dive down that rabbit hole. So I'm not going there. I may change my mind at some point. Who knows? But I would like to get those Stacy needle rolls started at some point, but I have to finish some other stuff first. Yeah. So, as I think I mentioned in my planning video, this year is going to be all about my oldest WIPs. There may not be that many finishes, but I want to see a fair bit of progress on stuff that maybe hasn't seen the light of day for a while. So that's all my stitching. On to knitting. I've got 3 projects on the go at the moment. The first is a pair of plain vanilla socks that I've been sort of knitting in training, or I was up to the point where I got to I had to turn the heel, at which point they have, because I have to think about it, they weren't suitable as a training project anymore, or a long boring meeting project. This yarn is some I picked up several years ago from the Knitting Swede. It's in her Stride base, which is 75% superwash BFL, 25% nylon, and it's the colourway is Mini Rainbow Dark Matter. And I bought it because I was strongly reminded of the cover of Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, for those of us of a certain age. And cast this on October time, and I'm halfway up the first sock. So I need to get my gusset decreases done, and then it can go back in as knitting in training, because when you're just knitting in the round, as long as I don't have to think about it and just go for it, I think I got most of the leg done in one training session. This is just a plain vanilla sock using, there's any number of recipes out there for those. I'm using one that I got on a band of some collar net sock yarn many years ago. My next knitting project, which was the one I was working on in December, is the Asana Shawl by Helen Stewart Curious Handmade. This was in her first ever Shawl Society. And I did buy the yarn then because it's blacker yarn, collaboration with the Knitting Goddess, St Kilda, which lace weight, which was a limited edition. And I am almost at the point where I think I'm about 7 or 8 rows off starting the lace. When I last showed it to you, I was here, so I've done a good inch and a half of the more of the garter stitch, and it's growing. It's quite long, long rows now. So pick that up again next month and hopefully get to starting the lace pattern on this, which is absolutely lovely. You can add beads. I'm not going to. I'm using quite a rusticy. The St Kilda is quite a rusticy lace weight, very woolly, right, lace weight. But there you go. My project. Helen has just announced a new mystery shawl knit along. I am currently trying to resist because I haven't stitched the last but one mystery shawl. I've got the yarn sat there and I haven't got there, and I have piles of yarn for various shawls of Helen. So much so the hedgerow shawl is speaking to me, I'm trying not to go there at the minute. We'll see whether I manage it or not. Hopefully. Anyway, the knit I'm currently working on is also by Helen Stewart, and it is the Habitation Throw. And I'm doing this to use up some of my yarn that's left over from knitting all her shawls. And I'm making really good progress on my Habitation Throw. Here we go. So down to that corner, you know, this is the halfway point, and I'm currently on decreasing diagonals along the top. So since you last saw it, I finished another ball of wool. I think that was the Collinet yarn, that the sock. I mentioned that the vanilla sock pattern came off. This is, I think, some Eden Cottage yarns left over from doing a shawl. That one was Ripple yarns. That was Eden Cottage yarns. That was Eden Cottage. Most of this is Eden Cottage yarns because that's who I've mostly bought yarn from. Those are some River knits. That was some Border Tart. Yeah, this is just trying to use up some of my scraps and turn them into something useful. So I've got lots and lots. I had lots and lots of little half balls of yarn left over from knitting 2-colour shawls or knitting 1-colour shawls. So they've all gone into, and a set of minis that I'd acquired at some point. So they're becoming the throw, and it's nice to just pick up mindless knitting from time to time. So that's my knitting plans as far as the knitting goes. Carry on with all of them. February's project is going to be the shawl and finish turning the heel on my sock, and then we will see where I get to at the end of the month, and then I'll be back on the blanket in March. I don't see me finishing any of the knitting anytime soon. I just don't do enough of it really anymore. So on to quilting, and I have a big quilting finish. I'm just going to make my coffee so I don't get quilt in the coffee. I have finished one of my mystery quilts. So I spent all of last year quilting and then binding my Sparkle and Shine mystery quilt. Now, there is way too much of it for me to put it in the video, so I will insert a picture so you can see what it looks like. Oh, but yeah, it's big, it's nice. I got it finished just after New Year. Or was it just? Oh yeah, no, just before New Year. I think this is what I was stitching on New Year's Eve. The reason it took me a long time to quilt is just in order to do the quilting, I had to clear my desk and just have the, and just to get my machine out so I didn't knock everything off my desk, because it's combined desk stroke stitching station. So, and then attach the binding. So I'm really pleased. This is backing fabric, which I love. Really pleased. So this was the 2021 mystery quilt. So I'm really pleased I've got one of them done. I have my 2020 mystery quilt and my 2022 mystery quilt as completed quilt tops. So they will get done at some point, but just not sure when. Because like I say, it took me quite a while to get this one done. So on the quilting front, I have done a few more blocks of the two mystery quilts that I've got ongoing, Village Green from 2023 and Wild West from 2024. So I did another set of clue for Wild West. This was mainly quite small blocks. So I think I've only got a couple more clues to do for Wild West, and then I am at assembly point. And then because the box came off the shelf first, I also finished another queue for Village Green. I've got a few more of that one to finish than I have Wild West. And of course I have signed up for another one this year. So I need to get cracking on the quilting and try and make some more time for that this year, and probably get a few more things to assembly point rather than and then spend a bit more time putting one of them together. So that is all my stitching. I did want to briefly start talking a bit about books again. So I'll just get my pile of books, because I do love reading, but I did start talking about books and then I kind of stopped, and I'd like to start talking about books again. So far this month I've read 4 books. I may finish another one, but I doubt it. So the first book I finished was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn, Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I picked this up in the charity shop because everyone seemed to be raving about it. I thought it was interesting premise. It's a sort of Groundhog Day type thing. The central character keeps waking up in a different person and has to work out why. Evelyn Hardcastle keeps getting murdered, and what's actually going on, and to break the cycle. It was interesting. I don't think I'd reread it, so this one's going back to the charity shop now. I've done it, read it. Won't be, not one I'm planning on keeping. Then I read from the library Jacqueline Winspear's In This Grave Hour, which is one of the Maisie Dobbs mysteries. I've been working my way through the Maisie Dobbs since I started reading them in lockdown in 2020. So we've gone from the First World War, we're now at the eve of the Second World War. Sometimes require a suspension of disbelief, but they're nice, easy reads. Does deal with a few hard topics, but everything's going to work out okay. Very much in the cozy crime. Then a love of mine, and has been a love of mine since I was a kid, were the books of Elsie Oxenham. She wrote a series of books called The Abbey School, and then some books that sort of characters sort of tied in. This is one of the sort of characters tie-in one. Elsa puts things right. One of the later books, I needed something that I didn't really need to think about too much. A few years ago, the LCJ Oxenham Society started reprinting some of the harder to find ones, which meant I could finally read some of the books I'd not been able to get hold of as a child. There used to be a lovely second-hand book dealer in Glasgow who, when I walked in his shop when I was in my late teens, would go, knew what I liked. Every day he'd always greet me with, "Oh, what's it today? Abbeys or chalets?" Because I was also, I'm also a huge fan of the Chalet School books by Ellen Rembrandt Dyer. So this was one night when I was knackered and I just wanted something not too difficult to read. And then I also finally read High Wages by Dorothy Whipple. Persephone Press are one of my favourite imprints. I've not read a Persephone book I haven't enjoyed. High Wages is a story of a girl called Jane in a Lancashire mill town. She gets a job as a girl in a draper's shop, and the story takes her through her developing her skills in selling and through to owning her own dress shop in the village, in the town she lives in. Highly recommended. High Wages, and my second Dorothy Whipple, and she can certainly tell a very good and engaging story. This one goes through from pre-First World War through to the Depression in the 1920s and the effect that had in the town Jane grew up in. The other reason I like Persephone books is they always use such lovely designs on their end papers. So tells me what the end papers are. So this is a 1930s dress fabric of the sort of dresses that Jane would be selling, and it's called Farm Scene. So at the moment, I am reading two books. The first book I'm reading is called Pointed Roofs, which is the first book in the Pilgrimage series by Dorothy Richardson. I have long wanted to read the Pilgrimage books. and I finally got my hands on them last year. They are held to be some of the best examples of stream of consciousness writing technique. Dorothy Richardson herself never achieved the fame of the likes of Virginia Woolf. And I came across a group online who are doing a year and a month read. There's 13 books, so they're doing a book a month read along of pilgrimage. So I am tagging along with that. So the first book is called Pointed Roofs. It's about the central character Miriam. She is going, a family have lost all their money. This is the early 1900s. She is going to Germany as a student teacher. And it's about her experiences there. So I've wanted to read these since I was a teenager, so I'm hoping that the read along will mean that I don't get bogged down. So yeah. The other book I am reading, another library book, is called The Love Charm of the Bombs, and subtitled Restless Lives in World War II. And it looks about the wartime experiences of a series of writers, primarily focusing on Graham Greene, Henry Greene, Elizabeth Bowen, and Rose Macaulay. I've read a fair bit of everyone bar Henry Greene, but it's and Rosamund Lehman, I think, is in here as well. Is she? Oh, she's sort of touched on. Hilda Spear, I think, is the Hilda Spiel is the other writer, and it's just a bit. I love literary history, and I'm finding this very interesting. And that is it. And I thought this wasn't going to be a long video, but it looks like it is. So thank you very much if you've hung in with me for so long. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. Please leave comments. I do like that. Thank you very much to everyone who comes back video after video. I really do appreciate you. Hopefully I will be back at the end of February, and then I'll let you know everything I've gotten up to, because February is going to be a busy month with 2 retreats. I don't usually like to have them quite so close together, but that's just the way it's worked out this year. But anyway, so I better get tidied up and cleared up and crack on with my cleaning jobs for the weekend, and then I will see you all in February. Bye.